God is a good God. I want to hear y'all sing. A good God. Come on, he's a great God. Thank you, Jay. He's a great God. He can move. He can do anything. I'm sorry. He has moved so many mountains out of my way. Come on, sing it together. Oh, God is a wonderful God. Okay, we feeling it now, y'all. Come on, let's sing it together. Oh, God is a good God. That's it. He's a great God. He can do anything but fail. Yes, sir. He has moved so many mountains out of my way.
We started looking through a particular scripture last week. We were looking at the armor of God, and I don't think we finished. So I want to jump back into that. There are a few areas that I want to continue to pull out and really dig into. So let's go back to Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6. We thank Elder Rowe for coming and blessing us. Amen. That was a throwback right there. Amen. And I came in and heard 5 heartbeats in the back. Amen. Giving us range. Amen. I thank you for keeping that high range rolling. I appreciate that. Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6. And I'm going to begin reading at verse number 10. And I'll read down through verse number 18. Again, we dealt with, I believe we dealt with the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness. I believe we dealt with the feet, the gospel of peace. So we're going to pick up today dealing with the shield of faith in particular. Let's read the entire chapter. I'll read the entire section of verses here. Finally, be strong in the Lord and his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground, and after you have done everything to stand firm then, with the righteousness in place, with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions, with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people. For all the Lord's people. And I want to again pick up today as we look at the shield of faith. I know we sort of broke into this last week, but just to review, we had brought up the fact that in this particular imagery that Paul is using, one of the realities of warfare in that time was that Roman soldiers would carry these heavy shields that were covered with animal hides. And the night before the battle, they would soak them in water. And the purpose of the shield being soaked in water was that when the enemy would shoot these fiery darts, shoot these fiery arrows, once it impacted with the shield, once it hit the shield, if it was soaked right, if it was soaked thorough enough, it would extinguish that particular dart. And Paul is using that image to admonish us as Christians that shield of faith, if we're soaked in the Word of God, if our faith is healthy where it should be, there are certain things that the enemy, we can't stop him from shooting, but we will not find ourselves in that place where we are consumed by the attack of the enemy. And I began to really think through that and think about that, and that's where I began to think about what faith is all about. We talk about the shield of faith. We talk about soaking the shield of faith and making sure that we are prepared for what the enemy is going to do. Begin to think through this issue of faith. That's what I want to talk about today. Because I've learned that when you talk about faith, it's easier for me, if you don't know about you, but it's easier for me to understand faith when I put it in terms of a relationship. When I put it in terms of a relationship. When we speak of biblical faith, we're speaking in terms of having faith and trusting in God and putting our hope and our assurance in Him. And that's based upon our relationship with Jesus Christ. We talk about faith and what it takes for us to live this life and to journey with Christ in the midst of pressure and adversity and difficulty. It becomes very important that I am actively nurturing my faith. If I am not actively nurturing my faith, when the attack comes, everybody say when the attack comes. It's not if the attack comes, but when those fiery darts come. If I'm not actively nurturing my faith, then I find myself really taking on, or I should put it like this, I find myself really being consumed by what it is that the enemy is attempting to do and how he's attacking my particular area of faith. So that's why I wanted to take this time out today and really talk about understanding biblical faith. Understanding biblical faith, because I've come to see that a lot of what we think is faith and a lot of what we celebrate that we think faith is all about really is not faith. It's really not faith. It's a lot of other things, but true faith in God, it means that I can put my complete and absolute assurance in Him in any season, under any set of circumstances or pressure. So again, I think if we're going to talk about faith, we have to look at certain scriptures, amen, that help us to understand it. First, let's go over to Hebrews chapter 11, because I think that's a great place to start. As we're talking about faith, and being prepared and nurturing our faith. Hebrews chapter 11, get that. I'm not going to read that all the way through, but you know it. But you'll notice here that the writer here, as he is talking about faith, or he's setting us up to really walk through faith, he's saying here that faith is our assurance. It is our assurance that what we have or what we hope for is reality. What we hope for, it is a reality. He's saying that there can be absolute assurance that what we hope for, what we have been given by God, what we have been released, what God has released to us, there can be an absolute trust that what has been spoken, what has been said, although I may not see it, I can absolutely bank on it. That is easier said than done. That's one of those things that when we come to the house of the Lord and we sit in the sanctuary and we hear great preaching and teaching and singing and all those things that tout faith, it's very easy in this atmosphere to have that very strong assurance that when I leave here, the things that I've been praying for, the things that God has spoken will come to pass. It's easy to think that through here, to have that in here, but where the test of your faith really comes, where the test is when you leave the sanctuary and you're not around other Christians, the preacher is not there, and the praise team, the choir is not there to sing you into a good mood, whatever the case may be. It's in that place where I may not see what it is that I'm feeling or what God has released to me, but he's saying that true biblical faith means that I can walk and live in absolute assurance that what I have placed in, what I have placed hope in terms of what God has said, I can build my life around that. That's a very, very difficult thing for some people to really even think through, that I can build my life on what I don't see. Lord have mercy. I can build my life in what I don't see. There are people now walking around here that are self-proclaimed atheists. And they are atheists because they say it's hard for me. I cannot put my faith in something that I cannot readily see, something that's not tangible, something that's not in my hand. I find that really being an atheist is an oxymoron if you think about it, because you have to put your faith in something. So even if you don't put your faith in God, you're still putting your faith that there is no God. So it really is just it's strange and delusional. But anyway, that's why it says the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. It's foolish. But anyway, when we talk about faith, again, it is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. I want to make sure I'm in the right place. Anybody ever been there? Anybody there right now? There are some promises that God has given you, spoken to you, communicated to you, and yet you don't have any evidence, as we would say, evidence that is ever going to come to pass, but yet your spirit is telling you that you can rest in the fact that God spoke it, that God said it. That is a maturing that every believer must go through. And I may not have the evidence of it in terms of what I can see with my natural eyes. I may not have the evidence of it, what I can put my hands on, but I have 100% assurance that it shall come to pass. Why? Because God said it. True faith is really not based on my character. It's based on God's character. And we'll be honest, it's really based on God's character. So again, faith, and this is important, faith believes even when it makes no sense to believe. Faith believes even when it makes no sense to believe, not because of the proof before you, but because of the trust you place in the object of your faith, or in the giver of your faith, or in the one who communicates the reason for faith. What I mean by that is that I can have this assurance, and it's not about rational thought. Oftentimes, and this may even sound a little strange to some, but I found out that faith is illogical. Faith does not always make sense. If you have an analytical mind and you're always looking to logically deduce what's going on and put an end to the beginning and an A to the Z, faith can be very hurtful, so to speak. I don't even know any other way to put that. It can be dangerous. especially when it comes to stepping out into the waters of uncertainty and trusting God over things, even when it doesn't make sense. And you'll find out when you talk faith to people who don't have faith, that's a very difficult conversation as well, because you're trying to convince someone that you feel something deep in your spirit. You feel something that God has spoken to you, and it doesn't make sense to them, and yet you have to hold on to the fact that if God said it, it shall come to pass. Even when it doesn't make sense to you, I still trust God. There was nothing that made sense for Peter to step out of that boat and to try and step onto water. It defied the laws of gravity. It defied the laws of nature. It defied, I'm sure, even the things that he thought were possible before that point. But when you really have faith, God is calling you to do something that doesn't make sense based off of the one who has given me the access, who has given me the permission, who has given me the call, I can step out into what seems impossible. I don't know, anybody got that testimony that I've done some things that made absolutely no sense, and yet God came through every time. Anybody there? Every time. It didn't make any sense at all. Matter of fact, I stopped trying to even explain it to people because God is so good, and me trying to explain that what God said shall come to pass, it wasn't even really clicking with people. So again, faith believes even when it makes no sense. And really, this is a very important part when we talk about faith. Faith is not really about your will. It's not about your agenda. Faith is really not even about your desire. Faith is obedience in what God has communicated, what God has spoken. Faith, you put faith in a person. Oftentimes that person, what they do, it's based on what's in them. So if I put faith in you and you turn around and hurt me, or you do something that causes disappointment, I can't control that because I'm putting my faith in a person, but then they have to act on whatever it is that they have in them. The reason why we put faith in God and then walk with complete assurance is because God has proven over and over that he wants the best for us. Now, this is very important that really we talk about the best for us. His primary concern with us is not that we be happy. It's that we be holy. His primary concern with us is not that we be happy, but he's creating, he's shaping, he's drawing us closer to him. He's making us more like him. And in order for me to come to trust him on another level, then sometimes he's got to put me in circumstances that go against what I want. Lord have mercy. He's got to put me in circumstances that go against what I think I deserve. In other words, he's got to test our faith. Anybody ever had your faith tested? So I want to make sure y'all talking back to me. Anybody ever had their faith tested? Where you knew, Lord have mercy, I know what I heard God say, and now it seems as though things around me are changing. I don't know if you ever had that testimony where in one instance God said, I want you to do this, and then everything around me started shifting as if it just was never going to come to pass. And yet I felt God saying, continue to move forward. I'm sending you through a valley for a reason. Taking you to another place, but in order for you to get there, you got to go through some difficulty. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. I got to walk through some valleys. I got to go through some storms, but faith is what allows me to stay focused on the journey. I cannot allow the journey, I can't allow the things around me to cause my faith to fall. And this is, again, a very important thing. We're talking about spiritual warfare. Is that in spiritual warfare, again, as we just said a few moments ago, that we've got to be prepared for an attack. We've got to be prepared that the enemy is going to do what the enemy does, and that is come against us. But we've got to also realize that as long as we're in the will of God, as long as we are aligned with him and his character and what he says, then I can rest assured that I will be protected in the process. You know what I thought about even as we were talking about that point, that many people fall in this manner. They don't know the will of God. So we often celebrate being in alignment with the will of God, But when we don't know the will of God, then it becomes very hard for me to stay in alignment when I don't know the will of God. How do I come to know the will of God? Well, through prayer and study of God's Word. As a matter of fact, it's very, very hard, I would say almost impossible, for you to know what it is that God wants from you and what it is that God wants you to do and what His will is for your life if you don't have an appetite for the Word of God. It's hard to be healthy, a healthy Christian, if you are an illiterate Christian. When it comes to the Word of God, it's hard to be healthy when you have when there's no hunger for the Word of God, when there is no sort of passion to study the Word of God, and when there's no passion for prayer and communion and meditation, when there's no time in our days because we're so busy to really seek the Lord for what He wants for our lives. Because this is what you all find out, and I'm sure that you already know this, is that the more you study, the more that you go passionately after God and seek His will and seek His face, the more you find out that a lot of things in your life, in terms of your agenda, are diametrically opposed to what He wants. As a matter of fact, I don't know about you, but I have found out the more I press into Him, the more He uncovers and shows me, and that's not me. Lord have mercy. When He uncovers and He draws me close to Him and begins to pull me in and really deal with my mind and deal with my heart. I put a post up yesterday morning, I believe it was, dealing with the heart. You've heard me say this, that people are so deceived, especially nowadays, because the thought is follow your heart, follow your heart, follow your heart. And your heart is the most diseased part of you. In following your heart, and many times what God does in increasing our faith is He draws us closer to Him and exposes how deceitful and diseased our heart is. And He does that not just to condemn us and to make us feel guilty, but He does that because He wants to show us where we ought to pray. He exposes areas because that's where He wants us to seek Him for strength and to seek Him for help. And in faith, I've got to realize again that faith is really about putting my confidence in Him and His abilities. The truth is, I cannot work myself into faith. I cannot perform my way into faith. Faith is about me surrendering to Him and saying, Lord, I don't see the end from the beginning. I don't see A through Z. I don't see next week or the week after next. I trust that even in this life, I am putting my complete hope and trust in You. And where You lead, I will follow. Where You lead, I will follow. Even when where You lead me, I don't want to go. I know that's real, don't sound good churchy here in the sanctuary, but let's just be honest. Everywhere God leads you, you don't want to go. I know it's easier. We be trying to sound real good and sanctified. And like everywhere the Lord leads me, I just want to go. I love it. I love all of it. You lying. No, that is not the truth. There are places, I've said this, that there are places even in my life, and there are seasons in my life where I said, Lord, can I just go to sleep at night and You perform surgery on my heart and just put into me everything I need to know. I don't really need to go through nothing else, no more. Just let me wake up out of this spiritual cryogenic chamber and just come into whatever it is that You want me to know. But the truth is, it doesn't work like that. There are things that God, in order for me to know about Him, in order for me to have this assurance of faith, there are things I must go through and go to. You look at Hebrews chapter 12, and you look at that Hall of Fame of faith, and all those individuals that are listed as being people of great faith, every one of them were tested, and were tested in major and significant ways. Every one of them were taken to the edge, and it's in that place they exhibited what real faith should be all about. But you understand this, it's not just those in the Hall of Fame of faith, but many of you in this room have been brought to the edge. Anybody been brought to the edge? Where you were brought to the edge of your sanity, Lord have mercy, brought to the edge of your comfort, brought to the edge of what you thought you could make it through, stretched, Lord have mercy, stretched in your faith, stretched in your finances, stretched in relationships. It's in those places. That's where you learn how to pray. That's where you learn how to put ultimate faith in God. You didn't learn how to pray in the ease of life. There is not a prayer warrior that is effective today. No intercessor that simply picked up a book and read and then just immediately became an intercessor. Intercessors, those who know how to war in the Spirit, those who know how to pray without fainting, those who know how to walk in their anointing. Those are individuals who have been stretched, people who have been put in the press of life, and yet have come out of that with a greater knowledge and understanding of who God is, and then are able to take those lessons and apply it to other places in their lives and walk into things. I love the fact, even with David, and David of course wasn't a perfect person, but when Saul asked David, what makes you think you can defeat Goliath? He didn't bring up all this other stuff that had nothing to do with his journey. He said, the reason why I know that I'm going to prevail over this giant is because one time this bear showed up, and this time a lion showed up, and God gave me, it's like me, God gave me the victory at those past points, those past seasons. And this same obstacle in front of me is going to go the same way because God will give me the victory in this situation. He was speaking that thing in faith even before he took his first shot. And faith will cause you to do that. Again, that's called absolute assurance. That is absolute assurance. Even when Jesus talks about moving mountains, he talks about moving mountains, the ability is not really in me. It's in the fact that I am, by the authority that I've been given, speaking in faith and in power that which has been given unto me. The truth is, without God, I could do none of these things. Anybody come to that place? Now, I'm going to ask a question that it may be a challenge for some to admit, but have you ever tried to do some stuff in your own strength? You ever tried to, I'm going to do it in my own strength? Have you ever gotten a little bit, now I ain't saying you, I'll just use, got a little arrogant, and started saying, you know what? This is what I do. And started trying to say and do some things in your own strength. And what do you mean to say your own strength? Without going to God. Without being released by God. And you spoke some things and found out, I shouldn't do that again. You ever had to go through the consequence? That's consequences. It's in those places where, we talk about moving mountains. It's in the faith that I have that if God has already determined that mountain is to be moved, it's not really about me. It's about me speaking in faith what aligns with his will, what aligns with what he has already determined for me. Because again, faith is based on the character of God. It's based on the character of God. The reason why he even says not to fear. You read that over and over. Do not fear. Do not fear. Be not afraid. Be not dismayed. Do not fear. Over and over again is because he's saying when you put your assurance in me, when you understand my character, when you understand you belong to me, you've been bought with a price. It means that regardless of what you face in this world, whatever comes against you, you do not have to fear. I have not given you the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of a sound mind. You don't have to be afraid when you operate in faith. Why? Because I realize that it's already a fixed fight. It's already a fixed fight. The reason why we as Christians, we shout about victory even when we don't feel victory is because we have faith and full assurance that God has already won the victory through Jesus Christ. This is so important that we're not praising God for victory. We're praising God from victory. We're not living for victory. We're living from victory. In other words, victory has already been given. It's already been set. It's already in place, which means that my life of faith ought to line up and have that victorious mindset. It ought to have, and that's why you ought to know the Word of God. Because again, the Word of God, even in your prayers, you can rest on the fact that all things are working together for my good. I can rest in the fact that He has already supplied all of my needs. I can rest in the fact that I have an inheritance that cannot be touched. All of those things are given to the Christian so that we would understand that we can live this life full of faith and rid ourselves of fear. Living full of faith and rid ourselves of fear. That becomes so important because, again, He's trustworthy. His will, it ought to line up. Our will ought to line up with His will. And again, that's what Paul wants us to understand. In this fight that we're in this fight that we're in, that shield of faith should be able to withstand anything the enemy throws your way. Anybody got some victories in your past that you didn't think you could make it through? And you can only point to God. And it was my faith. It was my faith. As a matter of fact, let me put it like this. I believe that what frustrates the enemy more than anything else is the fact that he hits you with everything he got and you still give God glory, honor, and praise. I believe that as sure as I'm standing here, that what frustrates the enemy more than anything else is the fact that you refuse to bow to the pressures and the attacks. Notice what Satan said even to God as they were discussing Job. He said, listen, I would have been done got Job. But you've had a hedge around him for a long time. I would have been done. That's Kentucky. I would have been done got Job. I said, been done. I have been done got Job. But you protected him. And as I read even the words of Satan there, the words, even the implication there is that Satan is almost sure that if he can touch this, if he can do this, if he can take care of this, if he can knock this out, then Job will absolutely curse God and die. And yet we see over and over, while Job is not perfection, Job is suggested by God that he will be one that although he goes through this hardship, he loses everything, that he will not take his faith from it. He will not put his faith in other things. And I believe, again, even in weak moments in Job's life, even in weak moments, we see a picture of someone who gets ahead of himself and starts to question God. And God has to correct him and tell him, listen, where was you at when I created the world, when I threw the stars in the sky? But you know what? We often chastise Job for that. But I believe that there's some reality and truth in that. That if we be completely honest, there are times where we have honest conversation with God and we say some things and God has to come back and remind us of some things. And that's a good thing, because every now and then we need to be reminded of our place. Amen. Lord have mercy. I know we don't like using that kind of language today, but we sometimes have to be reminded of our place, that He is God and I am not. Lord have mercy. There are some things that I may not think I deserve to be going through. But the blessing is, if God is allowing me to go through it, it is ultimately growing me up, maturing me, and for my good. That's the blessing behind it all. And He says, I allowed you to go through this because I know that you can survive this. Isn't that a good thing? Isn't that something that God allows us? That's going to be hard to shout on that, but I'm going to say it again, that I'm thankful. And maybe thankful is even a hard word for you to say. I ain't going to say I'm thankful, Pastor Tim. Well, at least I can find levels of comfort in the fact that what I'm dealing with and going through, God has faith that I can make it through this. That He would not have allowed me to go through it if there was not something in it that He wanted me to know about Him. Lord have mercy. And know this, and we'll move on, that oftentimes we talk about going through it and remaining faithful and having faith. Sometimes our biggest issue is we want to know why. But the truth is we don't always get to know why. Job never got the answer why. He was never given an explanation. He just had to trust and believe that there was a lesson, and I know that he experienced that there was a lesson that he learned. So while I may not know the why, I can still get the lesson. As a matter of fact, the what is always more important than the why. So many people are constantly going after the why and miss the what, the lesson, and end up doing and going through the same storm over and over again because they don't learn the lesson of the storm. Every storm has a lesson. Every storm has a lesson. Lord, tell your neighbor, every storm has a lesson. Every storm has a lesson. And Lord, I just want to know what it is that you want me to know. What should I be gleaning from this? Allow my faith to stay in place so that I might know what it is that you would have me to know. That's why David said, it was good for me that I had been afflicted so that I might learn thy statutes. I needed to be afflicted. That's another place where it gets real quiet in the church. You hear the crickets when you start saying stuff like, it was good for me that you jacked me up. Oh, have mercy. It was good for me that I went through that storm. Amen. Because in going through that, there were some things that I would not know now had I went through that. Everybody in here, I am sure, if you look back over the last 2 years of your life, there are some lessons that you learned that you would not have learned if you had not went through what you went through. Some of the greatest lessons that you will learn is when people walk out in your life. When things happen unfortunate, when you find yourself having to deal with health crisis and things of that nature, there are some lessons that you will learn that you cannot pick up from a magazine. There's some things that you will go through that will teach you what real faith is all about, so that when the enemy comes back with those fiery darts, you're able to remember the lessons from your past. There's some things at 40, Lord have mercy. Listen, there's some things at 40 I had learned that if I could just go back and tell 20-year-old Tim, I'm trying to tell you, if I could just grab them up by the neck and say, what are you doing, Lord Jesus? There's some things you learn spiritually. You know, there's things that as you mature, and I'll be doing something on this very, very soon, dealing with that 1 John text, 1 John 2. But you'll notice that there are things that you will learn as you mature in God. As you grow in God, there will be ways that you see things that you didn't see when you were an infant or when you were a babe in Christ. There's stuff that stressed you out when you first got saved that you have found out, listen, if I get to wake up tomorrow, one of us, I'm going to outlive this. Either it's just going to be what it's going to be. There's some things you find out that God seasons your spirit and allows your faith to go to another level so that you are not, you're not tormented the way that you may have been tormented before because of a lack of faith. And that again, that's what we talk about, soaking that shield, having that faith that increases. That ought to be our goal. That ought to be our desire. That ought to be our passion. That, Lord, help my faith to increase. Help me to grow. That's why I pray that, Lord, let something be spoken that causes our faith to increase so that we can deal with the tests and trials of life and so that we can deal with growing pains. We can deal with the enemy. We can deal with all those things. That's what I believe, again, as we look at this, as we see this, this is what Paul wants us to realize. That if you're going to mature, if you're going to be effective in spiritual warfare, if you're going to stand against the enemy, then you've got to have the right posture and the right position of faith. Amen? Amen. That's our study for today. God bless you. I pray that something is shared that will help you. We're going to pick up next week with the helmet of salvation. And please make sure that we're continuing to pray through these things. I was praying the other day, and really the Lord was dealing with me on, as we preach and as we teach, but really pushing the people of God not simply to hear and then to leave and to not pick back up. Really Sundays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays that are to set your study time. Obviously you have other things that you're reading and studying, but if anything, as we can be synced up and with one accord, we are teaching and preaching on particular scriptures, you want to take that and allow yourself to dig into that deeper and deeper so that you can come to the knowledge of what it is that God would have you to know. Amen? Amen. If you're here today and you don't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, we invite you, we urge you to come now. what a wonderful time to give your life to Christ. I believe that Tuesday afternoon is a wonderful time to be saved. If you're not saved, we never want to close the service without giving you that opportunity. So if you're here, we invite you to come, whoever you may be. Amen. All right. Well, God bless you. We're going to receive our chapel offering. Something that we're going to be doing with this particular offering is that this chapel service, this Tuesday 1 o'clock service, all of the giving is going to go towards life development. We have a renewed push on some things, programs that we're looking to get off the floor there at Life Development Corporation. So our Tuesday 1 o'clock chapel service, all of the proceeds, all of the giving is going to go towards life development and many of the things that we're looking to do. We're still doing work on some things that will be coming out very soon. Dealing with HIV, we're doing work still there around that. We're also looking, to do some things around JCPS tutoring and mentoring. You're actually going to hear more about that in the next week or so. We've got a special guest that's going to be coming, talking about some great partnerships that we are putting in place now. So again, I pray that you would give your best on today. I pray that you would give liberally as the Lord has blessed you. So this time, if you would get your seed in your hand as you prepare to give, always remember that you can give